Good morning and welcome. We were here this morning to talk about a rising trend of clients presenting to our service with substance misuse and addiction issues. I feel that it's important as a service and as a team that we are well informed and across the board to provide a constant and clear message of support for our clients and their families. So what is substance misuse? It's described as the use of any kind of mind-altering substance for non-medical reasons. Substance misuse is often thought to be just illegal drugs, but is actually a really wide range of substances from alcohol, drugs, and over-the-counter script medications. These can be ingested, smoked, injected. Alcohol in Australia is the most common principal drug of concern that treatment is sought for, according to 2017 government report, with marijuana being the most widely used illicit drug. As you can see, there's a wide range of different substances that can be used, and they produce all sorts of different results. Signs of misuse when clients may be presenting for us to see, it can be proved to be difficult at times, and often the user can somewhat be in denial around just how serious the issue is or has become for them. There are more openly obvious signs, physical and psychological, that as frontline workers we can spot. I've put up a few up on the slide for you to start thinking about, but it does vary broadly in each individual. So changes in sleeping patterns is a big indicator, not sleeping for days, sleeping too much, sleeping a lot through the day, glazed eyes, bloodshot eyes, moods always, an interesting one, irritability, aggression, elation, withdrawn, can be quite severe, so we can notice that. Their social circles, and just generally what they normally do tends to change sometimes. Criminal activity, if the user starts needing more cash for their drugs, and this can happen with any of the drugs, but most commonly lately known around sort of ice and heroin using. Can anyone else think of anything to add to this list? Yeah. Once again, why do people tend to be vulnerable to the misuse of drugs and alcohol? Look, this can be quite broad. People tend to be more vulnerable than others. However, it can be something such as being the social norm within families and communities, and it's not questioned, and then it becomes biological and genetics are a big factor, environment, as we discussed, psychological factors, mental health issues that are diagnosed or haven't been diagnosed or diagnosed incorrectly. There's a multitude of issues that can happen. And how does it affect the individual's well-being? Well, it really impacts, enormously. It's an enormous burden on the individual and their families. It can affect their mental health. They become vulnerable. The risk-taking leads to long-term addiction. Some side effects can be short-lived and short-term, but they're more commonly tied to misuse of long-term psychological and physical effects to health and families. Sadly, substance misuse can then present the client to have dual diagnosis in the future, which are sort of dealing with mental health and also the addiction itself. There's loss of, within the families, the impact can be loss of relationship, caretaker roles, people start enabling, they're not sure how to deal with the issue at hand, and especially if it's a child, it can be very destructive for the parent on how to handle it. So there's stealing, negative thinking patterns, trust patterns, isolation, financial abuse and violence, and just stress, fractured relationships within the family and the community if it's a wider problem. Other serious impacts include the other risk factors that other clients present with: homelessness, domestic violence, gambling, self-harm and suicide. Financially, unfortunately, with substance misuse can misinform judgment, and like I said, risk taking and financial issues can present quite quickly. Can anybody else think of other ones for this one as well? As a service, I feel that we want to be able to support the individual client and the families holistically to provide the support that they need, navigating this period of instability and uncertainty, and to help provide the tools they need moving forward and past this time, into recovery. In recent years, I've seen that families greatly benefit from group support, which heavily relies on sharing stories and identification, so that individuals and families don't feel so alienated and alone, identifying and then seeing how other people got through, and learning strategies just to be able to put boundaries in place, support, the substance misuser, without enabling them and not impacting too much on the rest of the family. Supporting a strengths-based practice for presenting individuals' families is definitely a solid path towards recovery, and I think it's something that we should always think about. Moving forward, just as saying, there's a lot of great outpatient clinics, hospitals, detoxification, support groups for afterwards, and counselling. Getting the right professional help is imperative. Moving forward, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. It really resonated with me. You can really use it towards anything, but the recovery of individuals and families with substance misuse, it really does take that first step, and that step ultimately could be the one they take to come through our doors, reaching out to support. And with the support of our team through our service, lives can be turned around, families reunited in relationship, and moving on to live happy, healthy and purposeful lives. There's some great information out there, and I encourage you all to do your own research around resources, other services, networking, to bring other stakeholders on board, and how we can just best support the client that presents and their family, for their families and surrounding as a service. Well, thanks for listening. Feel free to ask me any questions now, or on reflection afterwards. Shoot me an email. If anything personally may come up for you about what we've discussed today, feel free to contact me. And I'll just finish on that I would like you all to do one nice thing for yourself today. Just some self-care. Okay, thank you.